In the heart of a bustling city stood a mansion that towered over the skyline, a symbol of power, wealth, and status. Inside lived Alexander Reed, one of the world's youngest billionaires, a man admired for his business empire, but feared for his arrogance. Working quietly in the shadows of his luxurious estate was Maria, a middle-aged maid. She wasn't just a maid, she was a widow, a mother, and a woman who carried the weight of countless sacrifices. For years, Maria had cleaned the marble floors, polished the crystal chandeliers, and served the man who never once looked her in the eyes with kindness. But one cold morning, everything changed. Alexander stormed into the grand living room. In his hand, he held a broken vase, an antique worth millions. His voice thundered across the hall. Alexander, angrily, "Maria, do you realize what you've done? This vase is priceless. You're fired. Get out of my house now." Maria's hands trembled as she tried to explain. She hadn't even touched the vase. It had fallen by accident when the wind pushed the curtain. But Alexander didn't care. His pride and temper blinded him. Tears filled Maria's eyes. She looked at him one last time and whispered, "One day, Mr. Reed, life will teach you that money is not everything." With nothing but a small suitcase and the clothes on her back, Maria walked out into the cruel world. Time passed. The mansion still stood tall, but Alexander's wife was no longer the same. His empire faced scandals, lawsuits, and betrayals. His arrogance had pushed away partners and friends. Though still wealthy, he had become a lonely man. Meanwhile, Maria's story took an unexpected turn. Though homeless at first, she refused to give up. She worked odd jobs, studied at night, and never let go of her dream to create something meaningful. She poured her heart into learning about healthcare and community services. With her compassion and determination, she started a small foundation to help struggling families. What began as a few food donations grew into a massive humanitarian organization known as Maria's Hope. Within a decade, her foundation had spread across the country, changing thousands of lives. And then came the day of destiny. One evening, Alexander found himself at a charity gala. His company's reputation was failing, and he needed a way to repair his image. Reporters whispered as he entered, cameras flashing, but all attention shifted when the host introduced the night's guest of honor. "Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the founder of Maria's Hope, Miss Maria Alvarez." The crowd erupted in applause. Alexander froze. His heart skipped a beat. Walking gracefully onto the stage was the very woman he had thrown out of his mansion a decade ago. But she was no longer a maid. She wore elegance, confidence, and dignity. The same woman he had humiliated now stood as a leader, admired by thousands. Maria's speech echoed through the hall. "I once lost everything because someone believed I was worth nothing. But I realized true wealth is not measured by money. It's measured by how many lives we touch. That is why Maria's Hope exists, to remind every forgotten soul that they matter." The audience stood in ovation. Alexander sat in silence. For the first time, shame pierced through his arrogance. After the event, Alexander approached Maria. His voice was low, almost broken. "Maria, I don't expect you to forgive me, but I was wrong. I see it now. You've built something far greater than I ever could. You changed the world while I only chased money." Maria looked into his eyes. For a moment, silence hung between them. Then she softly replied, "Mr. Reed, life is strange. You fired me, but in doing so, you freed me. I found my true purpose. Maybe now it's time you find yours." That night, Alexander left the gala humbled. He donated a large sum to Maria's Hope, not for recognition, but because her words had pierced his soul. For the first time in his life, Alexander realized that his billions meant nothing without humanity. And Maria, the woman he had once cast aside, became the teacher of the most valuable lesson of all. Money may build empires, but kindness builds legacies.
And sometimes the ones we look down upon are the very ones destined to rise above us.